Hola friends! This is a new format for Coffee with BAO Season 2, and it's my first solo episode. I'm gonna make myself a Chafinity matcha tea. And there's gonna be a few long pauses while I do that, so just use that opportunity to absorb whatever I'm saying. This is my third day in Sayulita, Mexico, in a state called Nayarit. Beach hair has reached a good point. I'm loving it. However, sweaty sunscreen skin is not that great. The main reason I'm here is to get away from my seasonal affective disorder, which I've had for most of my adult life, or I've noticed it in my adult life. But recently I've had a new relationship with it. And so I wanted to talk about that in this episode. So what is seasonal affective disorder? Sometimes it goes by the unfortunate acronym of SAD, S-A-D, which contributed to me not taking it that seriously in the beginning. Some people call it seasonal depression, winter blues. I don't feel like it's a disorder though. I feel like it's just a evolutionary misalignment, kind of like allergies. They're supposed to protect us, but they just make us miserable instead. And it's not depression, because it's not always full-blown depression. Like, the symptoms can lead to depression for me, but it's not always depression. So for me, physically, it feels like I start to notice it around October, almost every year, since my early 20s, I guess. Maybe it was earlier, but I just didn't have a way to, like, notice it. Physically, it feels like my whole body is very fatigued. I want to sleep all day. I lose my appetite except to eat one meal a day or something, and it's always some like super heavy carby food that's not good for you. Like, what's that called? Comfort foods all the time. And that cycle of feeling tired and wanting to sleep all the time, it makes your body all sore. And then you try to sleep for real, but you're so sore that it's hard to sleep. Mentally, it makes me a lot less social. Like, I don't want to interact with anybody else. It makes me less optimistic internally. Makes me want to do nothing all day. Like, forget about any, like, dating or sex. Nope. And sometimes those symptoms lead to depression, but not always. And it, like, kind of sneaks up on you. It happens during the year, and then you don't notice until you're kind of in it, and it feels really crappy. But like I said, I have a new relationship with the seasonal affective now. And I think it's because I'm able to notice my thoughts a lot easier now. And I attribute that to like three main things: breathing, mindfulness practice, and plant medicines such as magic mushrooms. So breathing, first I started learning how to breathe, like meditation breathing, to help with my anxiety and my focus, help me sleep better. But after I got good at that, I started using breathing as a gateway to more mindfulness practices. And there's a whole slew of them. I feel like everybody should learn this stuff. It makes me feel like a superhuman sometimes. It's all about being present in the moment. Feeling your body, noticing your mind, what it's doing. One breakthrough was something called walking meditation, which is a teaching by the Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, or Thich Nhat Hanh, as Westerners like to call him. And that's just like meditation and being present, but you're doing stuff. You don't have to be sitting down on a mat. Walking meditation. It's about presence, being present without distractions of the past, the future, or any other fictional place like a movie you just saw. Just being present. And the last thing is mushrooms, microdosing mushrooms. I take a microdose every 3 to 7 days, and it makes the world feel extremely clear, super amounts of clarity. It helps me being present, helps me notice my thoughts and be able to witness what my brain is doing. That's crazy stuff. That's awesome stuff. Like, for example, I'm not sad. I am a being who feels sadness. And so I'm no longer consumed by my emotions, my thoughts. I can see them happening. And that really helps. A microdose is about 5% of a real acid or a real mushroom trip. And that's nothing. You can barely feel it working. But it's really amazing the effects it has on you, especially for people with depression or some other anxiety or whatever. And this year, there's been one big level up in my ability to deal with my seasonal affective disorder. I thought ahead a few months earlier this year, and I booked this trip to Mexico. It's like the birds flying south for the winter. Warmer, longer days, nature, novelty. Involves some financial commitment that I had to work out to make this happen, but it's already paid off exponentially. I'm on my third full day in Mexico, and I feel 0% of my symptoms, my seasonal feelings. 0%. I'm really blown away. And that's fucking great. But how will these tools and strategies pan out in the long run? Will these tools work in the future when I feel this feeling again next time? In the words of a wise Canadian philosopher, named Drake. Ain't no telling. Ain't no fucking telling. I'm just doing my best. And I wanted to share this because I know a lot of people have these feelings in the wintertime or in the spring or summer. Like sometimes you get them during parts of the year and it's a pattern that you can recognize if you pay attention. Thanks for listening. At the end of this episode, I'm going to append a little clip. We got some questions from a previous episode with my niece, Kay, and so I'll read some of Kay's answers to your questions at the end of this episode. You can submit your questions or ask me to expand on certain topics that you want me to talk about or whatever. Just hit me up on wherever you follow me on social media or wherever you watch or listen to this Coffee with BAO. Stay tuned next weekend because it's a new episode and it's one of my favorite conversations I've had for this Coffee with BAO series with a filmmaker called A Bluer Don Juan, my friend Wes. coffeewithbao.com is where you can find this show. Thanks for listening. Hasta luego. All right, now it's audience question time. Congratulations to username Amberoni on Instagram for being the first audience question to get answered on air. Whoop, whoop. Figuratively, of course. You are now immortalized in this recording. I hope more questions like this come in because they're pretty cool and fun to answer. Regarding episode 1 of this season featuring my teenage niece Kay, Ambroni asks, I love this episode. The generational perspective is so unique, especially in light of COVID. I wanted to ask Kay what she thought would be the next big career opportunity for creatives. When we were little, I never imagined something like social media opening up these paths for solopreneurs, influencers, and affiliates, etc. What does she see on the horizon? That's a good question. So Kay's answer, which I edited for brevity, sounds like a very good college application cover letter. She says, Hello, Amber. Kay here. Thank you for leaving an awesome question. I've definitely thought about a bunch of possibilities for the future as a self-proclaimed creative person, focusing primarily on that of a visual artist. Out of many, what does stick out to me is the potential for the community to come together and appear in stores around the world to share their creative sides with people up front. With the rise of social media, creators who monetize their products have a far greater reach than what was possible before. With that in mind, imagine the possibilities of creators being able to reach that scope of people, not just online, but physically in front of them. I'd personally like to call this the Costco approach, in which new products come in and off the shelves for a period of time and come back if they are successful. I'm 73.5% sure there's an actual term for this, but I kind of like mine better. Things similar to this already exist, except it hasn't been exactly a widely known concept as of yet. For example, I believe there's this chain of stores in Hawaii where many artists are able to rent out lockers to place and sell their art product in, and have no need to manage it themselves physically. It works similar, but not really, to Artists Alley tabling at conventions and events. except a lot more lasting than just a few days. Opportunities like this haven't been explored as much as they could be. It's what I think an artist alley goer's worst nightmare would be, for their wallet at least. Thank you for supporting our episode. We really appreciate it. Beep, beep. End quote. We'll see you next time. This is really fun. I hope you guys ask more questions.